What is up, everybody? Mr. Percy here. Welcome to 5.5. We're doing technology of the Industrial Revolution, 1750, 1900. If you remember in the last video, we talked about kind of the causes of the Industrial Revolution. In this one, we're going to get into the effects, and the effects is going to last us for the next couple of these videos. And it's going to be broken down topically. So this one is technology. We'll do one on society. We'll talk about what the economic impact of it is, and then we'll wrap it up into a nice little neat package and say goodbye to Unit 5. But for the time being, let's get into rock and roll into some of these technologies. So first thing, technology-wise, is we do have the development of what is called the factory system. So up to this point, if you were in Europe and you were making cotton clothing, you were most likely in what was called the cottage industry, which is just a fancy way of saying that people just made their own clothes in their house. So women, almost 99.99% of the time were women in their home, sitting around while their husbands were working, and they would sit around together and stitch together clothing. Mainly it was for their family. It was not being sold for profit. It was just within the confines of their home. So you might, as a family living back in 1700s England, have maybe 2 sets of clothing, maybe 3, and those would be that would be all you had. But now we have this factory system, right? And what the factory system does is it concentrates the making of products in one location. I know this sounds really obvious and everyone probably knows what a factory is, but the factory really puts this in one centralized location. Now, in the first Industrial Revolution, like we said in the last video, we're really going to have textiles. So it's going to be the production of cloth and cotton, and then the stitching of that cotton together. And then eventually in the second Industrial Revolution, which really is 1850 to 1920s, 30s, 40s, we're really looking at heavy machinery. So the development of iron and steel and this kind of heavy industry like we talked about, where people are melting down metals, pouring them into casts, welding stuff together. So really kind of heavy industry, right? Within this factory system, we're going to see the development over time during this period. So not necessarily, we're not going to see it in necessarily 1750, but as the factory system develops, we're going to see what's called the specialization of labor, where within this factory production system, you're eventually, as a worker in this factory, going to have one specific job. So for example, your job might be solely to, I don't know, stitch on the buttons of a shirt or stitch on the sleeves of a shirt. And that's solely your job. And when you get done your part of it, you might pass it on to someone else. You might have people within the factory system whose job is solely to put like an oil on the machine parts to make sure that they are operating and moving properly. You might be in charge of cleaning up or working on the waste within the factory system. So you might have a specific job. And I just want to point out that there is this specialization. It's really just a fancy way of saying you have one specific job within the factory system. We do see an increase in this factory system within Europe and industrialized countries of what is called consumer goods, which is a fancy way of just saying they're just stuff that people buy. So instead of just having two or three outfits for yourself, now, because this factory is pumping out at a fast rate so many more shirts, let's say, you are able to buy more because the price is down. So instead of having the females or the wives or the moms working on these shirts over the course of a couple months, now our factories can pump out many shirts over the course of a day. So that means the price and what shirts cost goes down. So now we don't need those women making the shirts because we can just buy them at a cheap price, which means we have more shirts. And buying shirts and having more of them and having a diverse outfit is a consumer good or product. So we're going to see the increase in consumer goods, not just shirts, but other things that people can buy. Second thing, we are going to see the invention of new communication and transportation. This is really going to shrink the world. And by I say shrink the world, I mean we're going to be able to interact a lot faster with people than we had in the previous time period. So in the previous time period of European exploration, if Spain wanted to get a message to their colonies in the Americas from 1450 to 1750, they had to put that letter on a boat, travel a month and a half or 2 months to the Americas, wait for it to get to the location that it needed to get to, which could be Mexico City, which is going to take another week or 2. Then it's got to be responded to by the viceroy and then go all the way back and reverse the other way. That's a long time to communicate. That makes the world very separated. And what the message in a January that needs to be answered might not come back with an answer until April. Now we're going to shrink all that. And the inventions of the Industrial Revolution are going to make it easier to communicate and easier to transport goods. So number one is the steamship. This is going to reduce the time significantly between Europe and the Americas. And it cuts the time in half, or by 2/3 almost, of this travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Number two, we're going to build these telegraph lines. I'll show you a picture of what they look like in a second, in which you're basically using what's called Morse code to communicate messages. So by tapping your finger, doink, 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 that's me tapping my finger on this, I am tapping in letters, which then send a electric signal across possibly the world. And we're going to have telegraph lines across the ocean so we can communicate between Europe and the Americas. So instead of having a 4-month window, by 1900, we really have almost, I wouldn't say instantaneous communication, but pretty close to it. And last but not least, we have steamships and railroads. Instead of traveling by horse, we can now transport goods via these railroads, and people can travel via these railroads, which opens up a lot more area that you can develop and industrialize. And also, it just increases the transportation of these goods, reducing their price. So think about it. Instead of having to bring coal by horse and a buggy, essentially, which is going to take a long time, and therefore you got to pay the workers to do it and make sure the horses are adequate and whatnot. Now we can bring it on a railroad through a steam engine, which is going to reduce the price because it just takes less time. This is a map of the railroads in Europe. By the green ones are 1850. So you can see, if you just take a look at this map, you can tell where the industrialized areas are in 1850 by the railroads that are built. So you see a lot here in Great Britain, which is obvious because Great Britain was the first to industrialize. We have a decent amount here coming right off. You can imagine the communication here. So you have a decent amount of green here in what's going to become known as Germany by the 1860s, and some in France here. And then by 1900, you can see the red, which is where the railroads were by 1900, which shows the development of industrialization. The less railroads you see, the less industrialized. So France, Britain, Germany, a little bit here in what's Switzerland, and a little bit in Spain, but not too much. And then as you get over here into Russia, you can see some Russian railroads. But down here in the Ottoman Empire, not much, telling you they are not industrialized. The second picture I just want to show you is some telegraph lines. So this is what telegraph lines look like in urban areas. My guess is this is probably somewhere in Europe, but I can't see. And then you also have the telegraph lines that are going to follow the path of the railroads because the land has already been cleared. Easy place to just set up. And this is a map of where the telegraph lines went. So you're going to have telegraph lines along the Atlantic Ocean, telegraph lines across the Pacific, and then connecting the Pacific to Asia, and then across Russia. So we're really interconnecting these people, and we're shrinking, like I keep saying, shrink the globe. And what we're going to see in the next time period of 1900 to present, which is the time period that we are living in, is even more shrinking of the globe through internet, fax machine, telephone, and then internet, which allows virtually instantaneous communication. The other thing we're going to see is the exploration of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are not renewable. They're something that comes from the earth that have developed over time. And they're going to use these fossil fuels in order to power these factories and to power our steamships and our railroads, and basically to power civilization, essentially. And what they're going to use originally is coal, which you mine from inside of mountains and underground, which is harsh work. You can see this is coming up the coal mine, pushing it up. Now in coal mines today, they have elevators to bring things up, but back then you would push it up. You're going to be underground all day. You're on your back, most likely. You're hammering up above you, trying to get coal off of the top of the coal mine or on the ground. Very dangerous. You're breathing in dust all day. Horrifically awful conditions. That's another story for another day. And then eventually by the 1900, we're really looking at oil, which is going to be used eventually in gas, which is going to be used to power our modern vehicles. So we're going to exploration of fossil fuels. And last but not least, we do have a huge increase in scientific technologies. If you're a science person, this part's for you. We are going to see by the 1800s, we see the development of electricity, which in the United States is popularized and kind of perfected essentially by Thomas Edison, who it took many years and many failures in order to eventually do this. So we're going to see electricity, which modern society and industrialized countries are completely 100% reliant on electricity. If your power's ever gone out, you know what I'm talking about. And then the second thing is we do see the growth of chemicals. The development of chemicals becomes a major, major industry. If you want to see how major it is today, get a bag of potato chips or a bag of Doritos and read the ingredients on the back and see how many chemicals are in it for flavoring or crispness or whatever else you have in there, because you're going to see a lot of words that you probably don't understand. But if you take chemistry, you'll be like, oh, sodium, blah, blah, blah. I know that's a compound, but chemicals are huge. In the Industrial Revolution, we're really looking at stuff to help power our factories and develop our factories. So for example, I just have 3 examples here. I'm not a chemistry person. I'm not a science person. I'm just a dorky history teacher. But we got things like sulfuric acid, which is going to help remove rust from steel, which allows things that we have made in this second Industrial Revolution to not go bad. So you can use sulfuric acid on it to remove the rust. We have calcium hypochlorite, which allows textiles to be bleached. Instead of bleaching over months, textiles, now we can bleach it in days, which shortens the amount of time, which allows you to produce more textiles, which allows the cost and the price of things to go down, which is always good. And then we also have what's called Portland cement. It's a new type of cement that's developed during this time, which allows for stronger buildings that won't collapse and won't fall and will last for a longer period of time. So just an example here. And over time, this chemistry really advances, and eventually in the next time period, as a result of these chemical industries, we're going to see the development of pharmaceutical industries, which allow greater life expectancy. But that's in the 1900 to present. That's just a little preview. That's what I got. That's technologies, Industrial Revolution, kind of a quick go around, just a couple characteristics. As always, you got any questions, you write it down, you let me know. I'm out.